I am happy to be here with you today. Coach, are you there?
I am here.
Great. I am excited, Coach, to do another program update call with you and share with our fan base and support base all that we have going on within Wake Forest and Wake Forest men's soccer. As you all know, I think all of our participants are muted for the duration of the call, but our chat feature will be monitored, and we'll be doing our best that we can to incorporate folks into the call, Coach, as some of their questions get populated. There's probably a question or two that you can imagine is on everyone's mind, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, in due time. But again, I want to thank everybody. Coach, we might give it just one more minute as folks are popping in, and I'm starting to see some other questions come up. But we also have John Currie on the call with us today to provide some updates from a leadership perspective from campus, and just talk about some of the things that, Coach, we've been doing for some of your athletes as well. And I'm sure that John has some good conversation and dialogue for you as well. Just looking, Coach, as we might as well get started, I think, again, one more time, just for those that have joined, please use that chat feature if you have any questions, and we'll try to get to those as we roll. And, Coach, I'm going to actually kick it to John to provide this campus update, but any welcome from you first, Coach, would be great.
First off, I appreciate in the middle of a workday for as many people that are going to join this call that are on now or at least registered. On behalf of myself, the student athletes, thank you. The support that we've had from the community or alumni, friends, family, especially our administration. And it's not just because John's on this call, but yourself, Mike, and so many people and the work that they've done to get our student athletes back, and not just get them back, but get them back and right now extremely safe and healthy, where we're back on the field. It's been probably one of the best 2 weeks of my coaching career, I would say, just with that layoff, to be back and to have so many people on the call just to get an update on where we're at and really care about the program means a lot. So welcome and thank you.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we're looking forward to hearing more from you. Mr. Currie, we would love for you to jump in if you are there.
Hey, Mike, I am here, and I'm fired up to be here. We had a head coach's call this morning, and we're getting to the point of the year that usually we have everybody on the call, but this morning we had 3 different coaches who were either not on the call or were late to the call because their teams are practicing. So right in the middle of a global pandemic, we have done something that many people said could not be done. And you all know that yesterday in our all-staff meeting, I honored one of our long-term mentors, the late Charlie Patterson, who maybe some people watching the call today remember. And he used to read the poem, "It Couldn't Be Done" by Edgar Albert Guest. And I read it at the end of yesterday's session because, yesterday was the first day of class. We got 2 days of class in a row without COVID interruption. It's been heroic of many people, our grounds crew and maintenance folks across campus who've got all kinds of tents and signs and social distancing, the people that work in our cafeterias and our residence halls. Our faculty have done enormously an incredible job of being able to transition their courses to be more flexible in how they teach. And yet, I talked to Pete Brubaker yesterday, our faculty athletics rep, and he had his 10-person seminar class in person yesterday. He put it in a 30-person classroom so they were socially distant. So despite all the naysayers and negativity around there, I think out there we are advancing under President Hatch's leadership and Provost Kirsch and Dean Gillespie, and I'm optimistic. Just to walk through campus is invigorating. I think what Coach Muuss said earlier, all of our coaches have articulated how much fun their practices have been, and the spirit of their I don't think they're going easy on them, but the spirit and the appreciation our student athletes have across our 18 sports, our 18 teams, so to speak, after having it taken away for beginning in mid-March, having that opportunity taken away and not sure if it was going to be back for us. I think there's a greater appreciation and gratitude than ever before for the benefits and advantages we enjoy at Wake Forest, thanks to the support of Wake Forest folks and the emphasis that our trustees and our university have placed on competing at the high level. Now, I'm going to go ahead and Adam Hurt in the chat has said, has any decision been made on playing the upcoming season? And Adam, we are playing the upcoming season. The decision has been made to play. Now, if a circumstance comes ahead of us that we don't foresee right now, there certainly can be interruptions, but we are proceeding with our, from a Wake Forest Athletics standpoint, we talk about three things: be as safe as we can be, provide our student athletes some competition, and sustain our enterprise. And we're working very hard to do all of those things. The testing results, I was on an ACC AD's call earlier, and generally across the conference, certainly there's a few publicized hiccups here and there, but generally speaking, most schools are reporting among the athletics programs very, very low rates of positive tests. While we do not report our exact numbers here in Wake Forest Athletics, they're included in the university-wide dashboard, which I would encourage people that are interested in Wake Forest to check out at Our Way Forward, the university's website. And they have a dashboard with the number of positive cases as they're detected across the campus community each day. And it's a very low number. Our testing regimen in Wake Forest Athletics has been very effective, and our positivity rate is tiny, literally tiny, among nearly 1,000 tests that we have done. So we are extremely encouraged. We have a very healthy populace at this point, but we're only one letdown away, whether it's not wearing a mask or not following protocols that we have. I really salute our student athletes in all of our sports, excuse me, for their diligence and their discipline. And that's a reflection on our coaches. And certainly Coach Bobby Muuss and the culture of championships and the culture of discipline and progress he has built at Wake Forest. And if you look about Coach Muuss's impact here, a lot of times it's much more difficult to take over a successful program than it is to take over a program that hasn't had success. And he has taken over this program and elevated it. If you look at 4 out of the last 5 years being in the national quarterfinals and then being back in the Collegiate Cup last year for the 6th time in program history, and just outstanding young men in his program. Across the board, from an athletics perspective, as I spoke earlier, we're still in a good position, as people have speculated, because we're still in phase 2 of the state's reopening protocols. We are anticipating pretty significant limits on fans. We're still hopeful that we'll be able to have fans at some of our games early on, but it's not definitive yet. And as soon as we have some more definitive guidance from the state, we'll be sharing that with our fans. Our top priorities, certainly beyond safety, we certainly want the parents of our student athletes or their close loved ones to be able to be part of it somehow. And then students at Wake Forest are another group that is really important for us to provide an early opportunity. And I recognize that for a lot of our very loyal contributors, both financially and emotionally, that's going to be not going to be a fun call to make in some instances. So I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding as we go through. No discussion around sports today should be absent without mentioning Jacob Blake, who actually spent some time in his growing up years here in Winston-Salem. These tragedies and horrific images cause many people angst, and they affect different people in different ways. And our responsibility here is to be empathetic to all those viewpoints amongst our student athletes and our staff and our coaches. And I know Coach Muuss will talk a little bit about some of the things they've already been doing for some time, even before the George Floyd murder, et cetera. I am really proud of some of the steps we've taken as a program this summer. Many of you know that our Student Athletic Advisory Council did a voter registration initiative that we've already executed. So we have a very high percentage of our student athletes who've taken action, not just tweeted or talked, but they've gone in there and got registered and taken action in that regard. And we have a number of other initiatives, including some education modules that our student athletes and our staff have chosen to pursue. Mike Piscetelli. I know that I could keep talking forever about stuff, but I think I'm going to turn it back over to you because the far more interesting, as Charlie Patterson also said, the late Charlie Patterson, us administrators, we're just stagehands. The stars of our show are our coaches and student athletes, and so it's time to turn it back over to Coach Muuss.
Well, John, thank you for that update and for sharing and all the hard work that you and the university and athletic department to allowing coach and our student athletes to be able to get out there and train and go to their classes and take classes. You all have done some tremendous work over the last months to be here with you with the hope of being able to play. And, kind of one of the great questions that we got from Emily Parks in our early submissions was, Coach, where are you finding the inspiration right now? And where is that coming from, for you and for your guys?
Well, Emily, it's good to hear from you, and hopefully you're on the call. It's been easy to find inspiration just because every time we get on a Zoom call, as soon as all this happened, you see the faces and all these guys just are desperate to getting back on the field and trying to get some type of normality in their lives. It is every day is something very different, but the inspiration comes from we don't know if we have tomorrow guaranteed, and that's the way we're approaching each training session, each meeting, each day here on campus. And I think that's for me is the inspiration comes from when I go on a Zoom call or in an individual meeting or out of training, and you see your seniors' faces that have put in blood, sweat, and tears for this program here the last 3 years, 4 years. We have Michael Shield coming back for a 5th year. It motivates me as a staff, as the leader of the program and our staff to try to do everything we possibly can. And there's been so many people supporting us behind the scenes. We mentioned John, and there's so many people, that are trying to pull this thing off for us. So we have a lot of people to prove wrong. As John said, a lot of people said that we couldn't do this, but we're committed as a program, as a staff, to try to play games and try to put another star on our jersey here.
Coach, I've been on campus just one time. Hopefully you can hear me okay. One time in about the last month, or a few months, I should say. And the one time I was there, I ran into you. You were masked on, and then your student athletes were coming out of Manchester, and every one of them had a mask, and we're doing all the right things. I mean, how did you get that culture, and how did you get that to happen? What's their mindset? What would you say to the group on the call?
Well, I think it's top down. I mean, John's been telling us since day one, the mask up, and it's been important. We try to practice what we preach as well. I'm in the office right now without my mask on because my door's shut. But as soon as I walk outside, it's on, and whenever we're together as a staff, it's on. But I'm sitting outside my window, and it's awesome to see the students, every student, wearing a mask. This is a collective effort. But I also told my guys too. I said it just takes one of us, right, to do something incorrectly or to involve in something that could be widespread, as you do see. And we don't want to be the programs on national television, or in the news talking about what went wrong. We want to be in the news for what went right. And I do think we're, as a group, as a staff, as players, as a department, we're committed to trying to do things the right way so our student athletes can have competition this fall and do it healthy and safe.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about what training looks like right now and how we're taking a day to day?
Yeah, yesterday was an off day and a much needed one for the guys. It's obviously the first day of class, as John said, and not probably the way some of the freshmen envisioned class going or even seniors envisioned class going, but we got through a day of class. But it's been good. We were talking as a staff after the first day, and we said, you wouldn't think our guys have been off that long, from competitive soccer. You could see a little bit of that layoff starting to hit their legs and their bodies right now, and the mental and the physical fatigue. So we have to pull it back. And we talk about training where we have to train their brains a little bit more right now of the way we want to play and how we want to do things instead of the physical demands. But everything we've asked of the guys have been doing. So I commend them. And Fitness levels are a little bit better than we probably anticipated at this point, which allows us to push their bodies a little bit more. But we're at a stage now where they're hitting a little bit of a wall, and we're trying to, reprieve that, regenerate a little bit, and start pushing, and taking it to the next level. We're 2 weeks out tomorrow from our first competition, so it's we're ambitious, we're eager, and we'll start hitting the ground a little bit more running here this week.
Coach, when I saw you and I said, "How are you doing?" the one thing you said, "We're trying to win an ACC championship," and you were dead. I mean, that came out of your mouth instantaneously. You threw that out there. I assume your young man now with school kind of starting up, they're finding ways to balance those expectations for, how they could be their best in the classroom, best kind of socially. And then obviously best on the pitch. And I think a credit to your staff I was just going to say for inspiring them too, your leadership.
Well, they inspire us, Michael, just as much as I hope we inspire them. The work they do and the dedication they put towards their craft, their academics, to what we try to do in the community and what we're going to try to do in the community, given, a global pandemic, which is not the norm for us right now. But it's the beauty of being at the program, right? And we tell them in the recruiting process and each year is we have a lot of people looking at us to try to deliver a great product and deliver championships. And that's it's sometimes it's an expectation that we want. Sometimes it's not always a realistic expectation, but it's an expectation that I come with each and every day and I wake up with each and every day. And I think our student athletes do the same. And like I told them, the NCAA championship obviously has been postponed. We have an opportunity to compete in the best league in the country, where we're going to have a lot of eyes on us, and we want to compete at the very highest level. We want to win as much as we possibly can, and we want to represent our families, our alumni, and this great institution, to the highest of our ability. And that's our plans right now. And the way the guys have been training, the way we've been preparing, is no different than any year that I've been here.
Hey, Coach, can I jump in, Mike, with a quick question here?
Sure.
Yeah, Coach, you just mentioned exposure, and one of the advantages or silver linings in the cloud, so to speak, of COVID is that with the Big Ten and some of the other places where there's good soccer programs not competing this fall, that really opens it up for exposure. And so I know you're really excited about the visual exposure through the ACC network and ESPNU, et cetera, for Wake Forest men's soccer. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I've been a proponent, and John, this. I'm in a very fortunate situation that my boss and the men's soccer program align, equally on our goals for this program. And national exposure, and competing at the highest level is one of those goals. And for our guys right now we have 9 ACC games scheduled. That could change with a little new dynamic that. Every day things change, and that's one of the reasons we haven't announced the schedule, because it can change this afternoon. I have a ACC head coaches call as soon as this is over, and John probably has another AD meeting later today. We're constantly on these, but out of our 9 games, 6 of them are been scheduled for national, like a linear broadcast, which is a national broadcast. On top of that, we have our our online broadcast. So from a student athlete perspective, last year, to put it in perspective, I think we had 4 nationally televised games. We're in a global pandemic with a shortened season, and we have almost twice as many games nationally televised. So from an exposure perspective for our brand, for our institution, for our student athletes, this is a great thing. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to put the best product down on the field.
Coach, there was one item that I think, as you were sharing too about exposure, your young men stepped up in their Different But United initiative. And John alluded to that some in his sharing of some campus updates and all the unique and special things that we're doing as a campus. But it seems like your squad really came around that social justice issue or injustice issue and have made some statements and collectively are doing a lot of the things that I think we're all proud of and would love to hear just a little bit about how that kind of came about and how that's evolving.
Well, obviously we were all shaken, when, the pandemic, and then obviously you see in the stories and what happened to George Floyd, where it's like, obviously it's not the first, it's one of many. But I do think is the way people have really stepped up, and the emotional, and it was raw. And we've had many discussions, and myself and my staff, individual discussions with, all of our players about how we wanted to proceed. We had some really good team discussions, and really, I got a call from a friend of mine here in the community, and it started where, hey, coach, how come you haven't made a statement, on behalf of Wake Forest soccer? And I said, because I'm not Wake Forest soccer, my players are. So then I approached the team, and I said, I got approached by someone saying, hey, this program did a statement, why didn't you? And I said, I don't want to speak on your behalf. So what do you guys want to do? And it took them some time, which I think is good. I'm a guy, we like control. We're coaches. We want to get things done right away, and we want to do it yesterday, but not something as important to this. So we talked about having a statement that not only is just going to be out there, but that's something that we want to live by. And we talk about each year we want to create new history. So this is a statement that we want to continue to use, where we can use in recruiting, to know that this is a safe and healthy environment and a safe and healthy locker room, that we want to be soldiers of change. And there was a couple of drafts, and believe me, it was read out loud, and it was abused by some. We need to tweak this, and it was a very good open dialogue. It was very positive, where we came up in this. And to be honest with you, the final draft, when it was read, I had tears in my eyes, because it came from them, and it was not, here, change my version. This came from them. So, and I think we're unified on it. So we've made shirts. We just did a video, and I thank Cameron Speaks and his crew, here in the department, that we put together, I think, a professionally edited video with the statement, which is, I think, has been viewed over 10 or 12,000 times, which I think is great. We have patches that we want to wear on our uniforms, which our administration has been incredible in the support of these efforts, to our warm-up shirts. And ideally, I'd like that video to be played on the ACC network at commercial breaks and whatever we can, just to say that we're going to continue to push it, and it's not just something we put out there once and we're not going to continue to talk about. So, and obviously there's some raw emotion right now, with the occurrence here in the last couple of days, and it's something that we have to have continued discussions about.
Coach, I just, again, commend you and your student athletes for the steps they're taking, and all that they're doing and leading. And it's no doubt you have a lot of leaders on your campus. And just to transition a little bit, one of your former leaders, Alistair Johnson, just sent in a note, Coach, how are the freshmen doing transitioning? Never easy, and especially during a time like this, not easy. You mentioned a little bit of the fitness level was up, but maybe speak a little bit specifically to those young men, the freshmen who are coming into all of this kind of stuff at one time, and how are they doing?
Well, first off, Allie, thanks for taking the time. And for those that are joining us, Alistair's had a great couple of weeks getting his first MLS start to getting the Man of the Match award. All of us in the locker room, you're an inspiration as a person, as a player. So I appreciate that. And I can tell you the guys came back fit, but they did not come back as fit as Alistair Johnson. Guy runs around on an MLS field like a chicken right out of head, the same way he did at Wake Forest and Spry. But no, Alistair, funny story, he came to me last year in preseason. He says, Coach, is something wrong with the freshmen? And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? That's your first worry. Well, what's going on? He's like, they're all way too nice. And we had similar complaints about our current freshman class as well. My staff has done an incredible job of recruiting incredible young men, not only talented soccer players, but incredible human beings. And their transition has not been the same. All of our classes have been able to come in July and attend summer school and really integrate with the team. Our freshmen came a couple of days before we were allowed to train, had a quarantine for 7 days and then test. And then we were able to be out on the field, and we're looking on social media, and some schools are back a little bit. And what are we doing? But they've been incredible. And I've met with all of my freshmen here in the last 48 hours individually, and just asking how their transition has been going. And they've been very commended, like they're very supportive of the upperclassmen, of trying to, bring them along as best as they can remotely. We have 3 different housing situations, which the school did a great job of. All of our freshmen are in one place together. So they're going through this together, which is unique for us and a positive. but the older guys have really brought them along and doing as much as we can to integrate them, given the current situation. But the freshmen have been great. They're all extremely talented. We're trying to change a system and a mindset of the way they used to play to the way that we want to play here. But the work rate, the effort, the positivity coming out of each and every one of them it's actually been contagious. It's been really positive.
Coach, a little bit more on kind of what that training and everything looks like. But last time we talked, and you just these kids were kind of roots looking at and nutrition zone and some of those other things. Are all those open? That was a question that had kind of come up as well in the early submissions. Do we have access to all of the wonderful kind of resources right now that you had in the spring?
Yeah, no, we're working all that, and a lot of it is the governmental rules on how many people you can have inside, and from a distance perspective, and all the grabbing and touching. We have to be extremely safe on that. I will tell you this: our nutrition staff and Katie Best is taken over from an unbelievable job that Kate really did start in the nutrition center, and obviously Kate has moved on, but what she started and what she allowed these guys to have is incredible. But they've set up some fueling stations prior to training, Michael, where they can stop and almost like a grab and go. Even the way we have hydration and recovery right after practice. Michael White, our trainer, has it where he hands it out, so there's not a bunch of hands in there. Everything has been as clean, and like I said, as I feel safer now than I did, being out at training than I did prior to. I mean, we have sprayers, and the staff we're sterilizing each other just as jokes now. I mean, every cone, every wall guy, corner flag, ball is sprayed prior to and after. But so we're missing some things, but we've added in some things in terms of the safety and the well-being of the players.
John, I know, empowered Ellie Shannon and Craig Zacharewski and, Murphy Grant to really put in best practices as we were preparing to welcome our kids back. And Coach, it's just great to hear that they're continuing to evolve and they're continuing to allow you all to be successful, especially on the performance and training side. Coach, really also another question Robin King had thrown out there. All of our internationals were able to make it back.
You're shaking your head like you want me to say yes. No. We I will tell you, it's been a hassle, but it's been good. Our international students had to quarantine off campus in a hotel for 14 days. That was not easy for them from the mental side of things, but I commend our sports performance staff and Murphy Grant, Dave Bass. I still think our strength and conditioning coach, Dave Bass, is one of the hardest working people in America going over, and they allowed us to use Truist to implement, some workouts to try to get them outside and get them activated so that your return to play would be a little bit easier. But to answer your question right now, we have 30 student athletes in the men's soccer program currently in training on an everyday basis. Which is a larger roster than we've had in the past because due to some longer term injuries, we wanted to protect ourselves. But we're extremely excited. So we have everybody that was expected to be here. We're in a very fortunate situation compared to a lot of programs in the country.
Coach, that's great. Coach, a little bit about your seniors that are coming back and what's their mindset right now. And I know you spend a lot of time with that group of leaders. We'd love for you to share on that.
Yeah, the mindset is that we're training right now to win an ACC championship. It's the same thing I saw you last week. We said, and they have an opportunity to create history and win 3 of them. And I think that's something that is unique in itself and something that we want to try to continue and we want to accomplish.
That's awesome, Coach. Flip side, how are you and Coach Steve and Coach Dane managing the recruiting element? And what's going on in that world right now as it relates to what you're allowed to do, not allowed to do?
It's called creativity, right? So some people have a craft room at home. We have a creativity mindset in terms of what we want to do in recruiting. When the pandemic started, we went heavy on our 2021s, knowing that we had to go off evaluations from our last time out, which would have been a week or two prior to that. I think, Dane and Steve did an incredible job of solidifying, I think, one of the best recruiting classes in the country once again for the 2021 class. Very balanced class. And actually, we're a full go on our 2022 class, and again, you're doing a lot of meetings virtually. We do FaceTime tours. My staff has been around campus, on their cell phones a lot more, and a little bit more of a holding pattern now, Michael, just to see, we need to get out now and see these young kids, play again. And we're in a holding pattern with the NCAA. We're in a continued dead period. We don't know when that will be lifted, which I completely respect. The health and welfare of our student athletes is a priority. For us to go on the road and come back to them, or have kids on campus right now from all different places in the world, doesn't make a lot of sense. So, but we're in a really good situation for the 2021 class and just starting our 2022s.
Not surprised, Coach, to hear that you all are on the 21 and well on your way to start on the 22s. Coach, you talk about, all right, we got a new freshman class coming in, you're recruiting the next class, but let's maybe take a step back. There's some special things happening in the program this year in terms of things to celebrate with 40 years of Wake Forest men's soccer. And I know there's been a group of Mark Irwin and Steph Hamilton, Jeff McNeil, David Joseph, Jose Grava de Parral. I think you're supposed to throw a Miguel in there at some point, the way that all those guys say it when we get everybody on the phone. But they reached out to us last spring and really brought to our attention that about August 1980, the varsity program started. Coach, tell us about kind of what's happening with that celebration, and how are the alums, starting to galvanize around this, given that they're probably not going to be able to get together this year.
Yeah, and that's what I feel. I feel for our student athletes not playing an NCAA tournament this fall, but at the same time, you think about the 40-year celebration, to be able to have all those different generations back at Spry, celebrating the program and hopefully watching the team play and compete and hopefully win. So we're just going to try to be as creative as we possibly can, Michael. Obviously, you've been on a lot of these calls and brainstorming calls where trying to bring as many generations back, if it's remotely, via Zoom, via social media, and just, you pop on social media and you see a face that, that's not forgotten, but you haven't seen or heard from in a long time, and just telling stories and using this season as a storytelling for this great history, program, and, hearing stories and just really, it's been rewarding for me as a coach. Obviously, I'm just, one of many people that has been lucky to be a part of this program. But the amount of support in a global pandemic, both emotionally and financially, has been just really uplifting. And you talked about a couple of those guys, and Mark Irwin and so many others' efforts right now to really spearhead to ensure the next 40 years of this program is as successful, if not more successful, than the previous 40 years. That is inspiring. Emily wanted to know what inspires us, to know that we play for so many other people besides ourselves, emotionally and financially invested in this program, makes me get up and want to do more than I did the day before. So it's been encouraging, and just hearing stories and really just connecting with different people. And I'm like, I just like to be a fly on the wall with the banter that goes on between generations from 40 years ago. And the uniqueness of the family aspect of this program is far different than many other programs, and where you can have, Craig Congers connecting with current players, and Mark Irwin from Ford, and Steph Hamilton knowing the families of current players or generations of, they were the starters. To see team pictures, of the guys and their outfits and the way they're clothed compared to what we have right now, or even just the facilities. And I had an interview the other day about this, and I think it's interesting. Our older generation started this program and set the foundation for myself and so many of my players right now, all of the players right now. They're actually happy that our players have what they have, and they want them to continue to move in the right direction to be the very best in the country and set the standard for American college soccer. There's a lot of programs in the country where older generations come back and they get upset about what the student athletes have now compared to what they had in the past. I think that's inspiring and encouraging to know they want us to continue to push the envelope and push the bar. And they're not disappointed. They're actually excited. And they want to have a long-lasting impact. And that is why I feel I'm one of the luckiest people in the world to be able to lead this program.
Coach, I know James Riley threw a comment. What can alumni do out there, for the guys financially? And James has been a great ambassador of the program in so many ways, talking about his experience at Wake Forest. There's probably more of that to come, right? That's the plan, is to allow our alums to kind of share about what Wake Forest has meant to them. And I appreciate your allowing me to kind of run with a number of alums to get that element set up. And probably a little bit of a leak, but from a social media perspective, I think almost on a weekly basis, we're going to hear from a different alum through some of your social accounts on what the program means to them, and probably what they want for the next 40 years. And it might involve adding some stars above that WF, but we'll get there, right?
I'm back. I'm sorry. I just went into cyber world. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I got you now.
I'm sorry. I just, everybody was frozen but me, and I figured it was me. But no, I lost you we're doing social media each week, and I apologize.
Yeah, doing social media each week, and our hope is that we're going to leak that out, where all these different eras of Wake Forest generations get to share their story and what it means to them. And I think you're right. I think they want even more for the next 40 years than what we've already experienced. And that probably involves adding a star or two above the WF, which is exciting, no?
Yeah, one at a time, Michael. One at a time.
All right, one at a time. I figured that was good.
I remember, and I don't know if Craig's on this call. My daughter, it's unbelievable how much they remember. And my first spring here, Cameron flew in from Colorado, and Craig took us out on the boat. And I said, man, I would love a boat. And Craig goes, you win back-to-back national championships, I win a boat. I'll get you a boat. And I remember we went to the Final Four in Houston, and my daughter goes, Daddy, you have to win. You'd be one closer to a brand new boat from that guy, that one of those alumni. So she's remembering this. So believe me, I want two, but we'll take one at a time.
Coach, I look forward to getting on that boat with you one day and celebrating. And we'll see what we can do. We'll make sure we hold them up to that.
I will say this, Craig. Craig. Mike, do you have in the chat room? I said I was going to do some giveaways, and I think they were going to send something over to you. I don't want to get you off track. I know you're on.
I have, yep, and I apologize. My son, I think, is using the bathroom. Sorry, everybody. But anyway, we do have 3 winners of a soccer ball. Okay, bud, you're a good man. Thank you. We got, I think, caller number 20, caller number 40, and caller number 44, Coach, were the ones that were picked. So it was Billy Baltos, Jeff McNeil, and Karen White.
Well, and just so you know,
those were the names that were shared with me.
Yeah, and just we were on the phone prior to you, Michael, and we said the reason we picked number 20, obviously, it was 2020. 40 was for the 40th anniversary of Wake Forest soccer. And then 44, just from an educational perspective, 44 is how many proud All-Americans that we've had that have garnered the Wake Forest soccer jersey. So I'll get that information. We'll get a 2020 team signed ball out to everybody this week that won those awards. Coach,
that's awesome, and appreciate you sharing the Wake Forest swag and love with our fans and supporters and alums. Coach, obviously, just thinking through kind of take everything here day by day, and our hope we can get to that first game and progress on. And John, I think John shared a little bit about if the class year changes, does that affect you or impact you? What's your take on where we are today and where we could be if maybe some of the things like at other institutions start to happen, like
Yeah, I mean, our goal, like John said, is to compete, and we're trying to do everything. The unfortunate part is Wake Forest can do everything right, which I do think we're doing everything we possibly can, administrators, staff, and student athletes. But we have to rely on so many others, right? And our sport can be, pause for a second, or postpone in terms of changing dates. I think you see that with some of our competitors in terms of the football schedule already this week. But our plan is to move forward and pay forward. And the one thing I think is the student athletes, our staff, administration have dealt with is deal with adversity. And these are going to be some situations that can teach us lessons and life lessons long after our time at Wake Forest. And I think is the one thing these guys have shown is their resiliency. If there's a change, if there's a pause, if there's a cancellation, the way we deal with adversity shows our true character. So our goal is that we're going to try to deal with adversity, whatever's thrown at us, and learn something from it and be as positive as we possibly can and move forward.
Bobby, that's awesome to hear, and it's no surprise you guys are where you're at right now because of your approach and your staff's take on it. Coach, we had a couple of questions come through early on, and even on this chat. Are we going to be able to watch the boys play this year if we get to a game? What does Spry look like? I think those are still some TBD type answers. Is that pretty true?
Spry looks unbelievable. If people want to know what Spry looks like, the field, the grass, it's unbelievable. We did an inter squad the other night, and I was, oh my goodness, grass has not been touched since March. We actually went on the game field the other day, and we've been using the video board. You talk about the resources that our donors and supporters have given us. We've been out on Spry basically doing video so we can have all 30 athletes spread out, social distance, and using the big screen to be innovative to try to use video footage. So we're trying to be as creative as we can. But yes, like John said, I know the administration is working extremely hard can we have some version of fans? And obviously Spry won't be the same without the support of our community, our alumni, our fan base. But we just ask if they could just support us remotely. Like we just said, the TV network is going to be incredible for us and for our fans. But I know the administration's doing everything they can for family, for students, to give the student body something to celebrate while they're here on campus. I think would be huge for everybody. But right now we're, those decisions are a lot higher than the men's soccer coach.
And Mike, I would just add to that, under the guidelines of Phase 2 in the state of North Carolina, outdoor gathering is limited to a maximum of 25 people. So that would apply to a sporting event at this particular moment in time. So we are working to build a scalable plan so that as Phase 2 is relaxed or extended into Phase 3, that we have the opportunity to increase the number of fans at our contest. We also have a little bit of technical aspect, just speaking candidly, because we are not currently allowing visitors to enter the Wake Forest University campus. And so Spry Stadium, one of the advantages of Spry Stadium is it's not 10 miles away from our campus, right? It's a couple hundred yards away from the Athletics Center and where our student athletes live and eat. 100 yards in some cases this year with some of our students. So that's one of our real advantages at Wake Forest. But in this case, we do have to work through the process of enabling visitors, meaning fans out who aren't current students or faculty and staff, to come into whether it's Kentner Stadium or Spry Stadium. In volleyball, for instance, we're actually going to move our matches from Reynolds Arena in Reynolds Gym or Varsity Arena to Joel Coliseum so that we have more flexibility since that's a bit away from the central campus.
John, thanks for that and that insight. I think those are all key moments in time we'll be focused on. And just like we've navigated these last few months, wonderful staff put together within the administration to help us do everything we can to enjoy and realize Wake soccer in person if it's permitted. But if not, Bobby, to your point, ACC Network is a great way to be able to catch our Deeks in action. John, I'm going to kick it back to you for any final thoughts, maybe before letting Coach Bobby wrap up for today. But John, any final things to share about men's soccer and your observations?
I was on a roll there. As we talked about with our all staff, in our all staff meeting and our head coaches meeting this morning, our goal as a department is that when we emerge from COVID-19, whenever that shall be, we want to emerge at a full speed sprint. And so we're working really hard inside the program. The contributions financially to this point in the year, thanks to your team's work and the generosity of our supporters, are up versus the same date last year. That September 8th Giving Day is an opportunity for people that love Wake Forest soccer to invest directly into Wake Forest soccer, and it enables Coach Muuss to do things like have all of his games that are at home that aren't on the ACC linear network to be live streamed. It costs us $3,000 or $4,000 each time we make a decision to put a game on over the internet or on ACC Network Extra, and yet that's such a critical part of telling our story for Wake Forest and Wake Forest soccer. So lots of different ways to impact. I'm really excited about this season and about the spirit of Coach Muuss's lads, and looking forward to that first game.
John, thanks. And thanks for all the support of all of our student athletes programs and institution. Bobby, literally kicking it over to you for a wrap up, for your thoughts as we close out this program update. And Coach, thank you again for taking the time, a couple of days into the school year, a couple of days into training. Would love to Coach hear from you for some final thoughts.
No, I got to echo everything that John just said. I'm still humbled and so appreciative that we're talking about having a season. When you think about every men's soccer conference but one is not playing, when they're preparing for the spring. And I know there's a lot of questions of why. And I guess my question would be, why not? Right? If we have a feasible, health and safe way of giving our student athletes competition, it's what drives them. If you talk about the mental health, we talk about mental health all the time. Right now, this is healthy for our guys since they've been, in houses or in dormitories for months at a time. This is the right thing to do, and I am in full support of our administration and the presidents and the ADs, in this conference for doing this. And I think if you asked any of our student athletes, these last couple of weeks have been probably the best 2 weeks they've had since March. And that's not being disrespectful to family and all that quality time they got with their family, but they want to be back doing what they love. And I had to pinch myself. My voice went out the first day. Like, I'm not in shape, in playing shape or coaching shape. And I talk a lot, but man, I yell a lot too. So it's one of those, just trying to get back at it. And I was complaining the other day how tired I was. I'm like, stop, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity I do. So I do have to echo, I said it earlier, how appreciative I am for so many people that have a love for the program and want to see it continue to succeed, and their contributions here in a very difficult and unstable financial situation for a lot of people, and not only in America but in the world. And those donations and those opportunities that they're giving us is really going to make a difference when we come out of this, as John just said. There's going to be a lot of programs that limp out of this pandemic because they're dipping into reserves and not going to be able to have the support they need to continue to recruit, to continue to have the technology to develop our student athletes. And even in terms of, we know there's going to be budget constraints, given, this situation. But we've been very blessed. And, if people have been considered giving, there's no better time to give than right now, given what's taking place. So I can't thank the people that have stepped up in these uncertain times enough for their support. I know, Mike, when I get a call from you or a text from you or from a donor or a family or friend, it's just humbling to say these people really adore this program and want to see us succeed. And that, again, I don't need any more motivation. I don't need any more energy. Sometimes some people would tell me I need to slow down, but that definitely encourages me. And so I think it's I said it earlier, I'm extremely blessed to be the leader of this program. I'm one of many people that have a very working hand. So it takes an army to run a program like this, and I'm fortunate to have the staff behind me that I have. And we're going to do everything we can to continue to add pleasure to our alumni and our fans, for the way we play, how we play, and more importantly, the way the student athletes conduct themselves both on and off the field. And we couldn't do it without the support of so many people on this call. So thank you so much.
Coach, that so well said. And I have had the privilege these last couple of days as we're trying to muster up excitement about the 40 years of the program, the kickoff of this season. Probably about 11 alums, and I think every half an hour I'm talking to an alum from now until 6:30 tonight, and every one of them continues to express a couple of things, but mainly how proud they are, how impressed they are by the quality of our kids, and how really they want the very best for them. And I know that when our alums come back and our supporters are around our young men, they feel that love, and maybe that's, one reason why they're working hard. They're working for each other. But the fan base, support base, and alumni base are beyond grateful for the young men you're helping to build and shape, and for your staff, because there is a lot of pride out there in a time when I think people need that hope. And, we started that call with that inspiration question. And I think you all are inspiring a lot of people out there right now. So keep positive and keep plugging along, because Wake Forest soccer means a lot to a lot of folks, and they're beyond proud, as I said, for all that you have accomplished and all that this program will accomplish. And we can't wait to see you on the field.
I appreciate it. The other thing that you need to tell everybody is we just announced the winners of 20, 40, 44. What you didn't say is 15, 18, 27, 44, 98. Those have been assigned to give donations immediately following the call as well. So
basically everybody who didn't get a ball actually has their gift as an email form to fill out for support of men's soccer. But Coach, we will do everything we can to make you proud in our shop as well. But we're gonna have to do this again, and look forward to that moment to catch up with you again for our fan base. And thank you for all those that submitted questions and that for engaged in the chat. I know we didn't get to necessarily everybody, but we look forward to continuing this relationship. Coach, thanks for making yourself available. John, thank you as well.
No, I do think is our ultimate goal is to be kicking off on September 11th. Who that opponent is. I could tell you that an hour ago it was Clemson. An hour from now it may not be. It may still be. But I will say this: I just want everybody to sit back when that broadcast comes on, and I don't think anyone understands the work that has gone in, the hours that have gone in to pull this off. And again, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be an emotional night for everybody included. And I think from an administration perspective, it will be emotional for the work they put into the student athletes to say, "Wow, I can't believe we're getting the opportunity to do this." From a staff perspective, as an alumni, a family, a member of the community and the supporters group, just sit back and enjoy it. No matter what the result is, you just have to enjoy it, because we're pulling off something so many people said we couldn't do, and I couldn't be more proud.
But just remember, Coach Muuss, wins are always more enjoyable.
Oh, no, winning. That's the goal, right, Coach? That's the goal. So that's our goal. So thank you so
on
much,
that note, a healthy Go Deeks to everybody, and look forward to seeing you in just a few days. Coach, thank you again.
You got it. Thanks, Mike.